I'm one of the credit counselors here. Oh, we just started recording. Now my name's Bruce, and I'm one of the credit counselors here at Justine Peterson. I also have my colleague, Mr. Pat Boyle, on here as well. He may be chiming in throughout this. He is also just as experienced, just as knowledgeable, probably smarter than me. So here we go. Building assets and changing lives. That's what we do here, people. And it's all about credit. And that's the first place you start. So if you're not familiar with Justine Peterson, our mission is to connect low and moderate income families with institutional resources in order to build financial assets and create enduring change. We offer credit building. Hi, I'm Bruce. Financial education.
Just sign up. Oh, that's pretty good.
Home ownership and extension.
Hey guys, can you mute your phone? Mute your phone.
There we go.
Hey Bruce, you want to be sharing the slide?
Am I not sharing?
I see you right now.
Good call, Pete.
There you go. I got it.
My man. Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Our mission is to connect low and moderate income families with institutional resources in order to build financial assets and create enduring change. We offer credit building and financial education, home ownership, preparation, and retention, as well as small business lending and training, and also small dollar business, consumer loans as well. Breaking down credit is probably one of the most important things to have a foundational start, if you will. So knowing how your credit is scored is one of the most important things. So 35%, the largest chunk of your credit score, is purely dedicated to payment history. Are you making your payments on time? This goes all the way back to 10 years. Are you making payments on time? Are you making payments late? How many times are you making payments late? How many accounts do you have open that you're making payments late? How many payments do you have on time in the last 7 years? How many payments do you have late in the last 7 years? We'll see it all. That is the biggest chunk, 35%. So I tell all of my clients that there's only one thing that I can leave you with in regards to building your credit. The best thing that you can do is make payments on time with your open and active accounts. I say it all the time, it is better to make your minimum payment on time than it is to make an extra large payment late. You can always work on a balance. You can't really do much about a late payment once it's recorded. Second largest chunk goes to 30%, goes to your current total debt with revolving credit. Revolving credit is what they call credit card.
Credit building.
Credit cards are, again, worth 30% of your credit score. The way that they give you this 30%, however, is very much needed to know. So the credit limit doesn't necessarily matter when scoring your credit. What matters is that balance to limit ratio. So as your balance grows, as it gets closer to that limit, you're essentially taking points away from yourself. The nice thing about revolving credit, it revolves, it goes up and down. You can always get that balance back down, which again, why is it's more important to make the minimum payment on time than to try and make extra payment late. But having a balance below 30% of what your credit limit is allows you to optimize that account. You're basically getting the majority of your points for that account when the balance for your credit card, when the balance is at or below 30%. A little trick of the trade, what I've learned that I do is in order to keep my card active, but keep my little grubby hands off of it, because if I have it on my person, I'm out and about, my brain says, oh, hey, Bruce, you got an extra $500 in your pocket. How about you spend that thing? No, it's not. Sit down, go somewhere. So what I do is I hook it up to my Hulu account. Everybody has Hulu, Amazon Prime, Netflix, something along those lines. It's $15, $20 a month. You hook that up to your credit card. It charges it once a month. It's $20. I have my checking account hooked up for auto pay. It pays it off in full on the due date. There it is. I don't have to worry about it. I keep my credit card in my desk drawer, so it's not a temptation to me. Excuse me. But it gets used, it stays active every month. It'll never close. It gets paid off every month in full because it's only $20. It's already in my budget. And it allows me to maintain that small balance, keep it below 30%, keep it active, keep it reporting. And I mean, hell, the credit card started at $500 limit. It's up to $2,500 just because that's what I do with it. I don't do anything else. They see me paying it on time, so they just keep giving me more money. I don't know if that's a good thing, but hey, it works. So that's the second largest chunk. Next goes to
Bro, come
15%.
have a seat, because then I tell you to leave that window alone. Come have a seat.
Next goes to 15% is the length of history. This is an average of all your open and active accounts. It maxes out at 25 years. So what that means is the older account, the older you can keep an account, the more it's worth to you. That's also why we discourage people from opening multiple accounts at once, or really in general, because again, it will decrease that average. If you've got a credit card that's been open for 25 years, and then you open three brand new credit cards in 2 or 3 months time, well, their average just went from 25 years down to about 10, 8, because it's a mixture of the average of those dates, that length of history. So that's why, again, we discourage, don't want to close an account if you can help it, and you don't want to actively open new accounts over and over again. Next 10% is the mix of types of credit. There's your installment accounts. So having a variety of types of credit just helps, again, boost your score. Shows that you are able to handle different types of debt. So, and we'll go over the different types of credit as well. But you've got your installment, which is your set monthly payment, auto loan, mortgage, personal loan, business loan. It's a set monthly payment. It doesn't change. And then you've got your revolving credit cards, where that monthly payment, that minimum monthly payment can and will fluctuate depending on how you use the card. So it's revolving payment, it's revolving credit. And
Hey,
then
Bruce, your
yes,
screen went away again, bud.
my screen went away. Oh no.
I still see it.
There it
I
is.
can
I
still
see it
see
too.
it. I can still see it, Pat.
Oh,
Oh, there we go.
okay. We can see it now. We're
Yep.
good.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. And then the last 10% is requests for new credit. This is actually the only piece of the pie that you get the full 10% right up front. And then every time you have somebody hit you with a hard inquiry, you just slowly chip away at that. It doesn't mean that every inquiry is going to just crazily damage your score. So please don't interpret that. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit later too. But having a bunch of people run your credit, obviously going to affect you more and more. You're going to chip away more at that 10% that is given to you up front, if you will. So those are our financial factors, breaking it down again, knowing how to score and move your own credit, best thing for you. Next, couple of myths and facts for you. Myths or facts, I guess we'll find out here. Wink, wink. So first and foremost, I should only view my credit history or report if I perceive there to be inaccuracies. This is a myth. Check your credit report. It's up to you to see. How are you going to know if there's inaccuracies if you're not checking your credit report, if you're not monitoring it, at least on some type of regular basis? Because I promise you, nobody's just going to knock on your door and say, hey, have you checked your credit lately? Hey, have you seen what's on your credit lately? Hey, did you know that somebody actually merged your file and you need to file some disputes? So we recommend checking your credit. I personally, just to try and not make myself go nuts, I do it every 2 months. But every month you can do it. I don't recommend doing it once a week or anything like that because reporting happens every 30 days with each of your creditors. So things will, again, change throughout the month. So checking it, once in the middle of the month, every month, or every other month, at least once a quarter. So every 3 months is what we recommend. Honestly, just to, again, keep yourself familiar with what's going on with your credit and knowing, if you need to question anything or, hey, my credit score is low. I need to get that up before I go and get this auto loan that I have to get. Next one. If I only have collection debt on my credit report, I may not have a score. This this one's actually kind of funny because it's a little bit of both. Um, there, for the most part, if you only have collection debt, you're probably going to get an insufficient credit or an insufficient credit finding. So you won't actually have a score to give. So now this isn't always the case. There are outliers, which if you're in the world of credit, I mean, you'll see it every once in a while. But for the most part, only having collection debt, nothing open and active, you're not going to have a credit score. So you're not going to be able to get, be approved for loans and such. Once a collection is paid, the account will be removed from my credit report. That is a giant myth. It is not their obligation to remove anything from your credit. Once it's settled, they are obliged to update it, report it accurately, if you will. And that just means that it's zeroed out. It shows settled, but it doesn't mean that it's removed. So be very careful whenever dealing with collections. Personally, it's the last thing that I want to focus on as a credit counselor. We want to look ahead, move forward, look at your open and active accounts and your positive credit. Looking back only gives you a crick in the neck. Nobody wants that. So trying to focus on your open and active is more important. But if you are having to deal with a collection, first and foremost, I recommend that you speak with your credit counselor about it. If you don't have a credit counselor, hi, I'm Bruce. But from there, making sure that it's the right move because paying a collection isn't always beneficial for your credit report. And oftentimes it's actually does the opposite and can have a decreasing effect in your scores. Paying on time to bills such as rent and utilities builds my credit score. This is a myth. Rent, utilities, in general, don't report to the credit bureaus. Yes, there are companies out there that you can elicit, pay for them to go through your account and report what you're paying on and things of that nature. There are a few, very, very, very select few renters that are actually reporting now, but it's extremely rare. So in large, this is a myth. Utility companies, your rent, it does not report to the credit bureaus. So therefore, it has no bearing on your credit report or score. Creating a payment plan on a collection debt can increase my credit score. No, this is a myth. We do not recommend that you set up payment plans with collections. If it's a collection that you have to pay, that you are, or I mean, if you're just really, you just feel impelled to do that. If I can't have this debt on lingering on my soul. If that's one of you, if you're one of those people, God love you. But if that's you, don't set up a payment plan. Wait until you have the funds available, save up the money, and call them with a settlement agreement enough to do a one lump sum payment and get it done. We also highly recommend that you request a intent to remove or intent to delete letter upon satisfaction. These don't come very often. Some collection agencies will absolutely flat out refuse to do it. But if you can get it, that's where the true benefit comes in on paying old debt or collection is to have it removed from the report, not just shown as settled or satisfied. Then last one, credit building is accessible to everyone committed to the process and to their goals. 100% fact. Hi, I'm Bruce. Here we are. Credit is an asset. It's up to you though that to build that asset, to know how to build that asset. So credit is accessible. Credit building is accessible. If you don't have our contact information, I'd be absolutely shocked because Yolanda is awesome at her job. So I know that you've got all our contact info. So reach out to us. We are the credit builders. Pat and I, we've got Miss Nikki as well. But Justine Peterson knows and believes wholeheartedly that credit is an asset. So you do have access to the building of it. What is a credit score? This 3-digit number that rules my life and tells me that I have to pay $50,000 on a $12,000 car. Which, yes, that has happened. It's ridiculous. Be careful. Credit score. So there's 2 different major companies that create these credit scoring algorithms. FICO, Fair Isaac Corporation, and then you've got Vantage. 90%, and honestly, I think that's low, but at least 90% of the nation will use a FICO score, a type of FICO algorithm to judge you and see where your credit's at. Vantage scores are not used in general for lending purposes. It's more of educational purposes. That Vantage is what you get with Credit Karma. So if you've ever tried to go into a bank or a dealership and say, hey, my Credit Karma score is 690, let's get a loan, you'll find out really quick that that's not going to fly, nor is it accurate. So just be aware that there are, last I checked, 59 credit scoring algorithms out there. So it's a lot. But there are set algorithms, FICO algorithms that lenders use throughout the industries that they're in: mortgage, auto, personal loan, business loans, things of that nature that are used. And there are ways to get those if you're ever so inclined to really know what your auto score is or your mortgage score. But understand that there are differences in the scoring algorithms. There's different types of scoring algorithms. So take the credit monitoring services that you use with a grain of salt. Don't believe that they are God's word, if you will, and go into a bank knowing that you've got a 700 credit score because that's what Credit Karma says. Knowing the reporting statute of limitations is also super important, especially when dealing with collections. So closed accounts in good standing, 10 years from date of closure. Like I said, that payment history can go all the way back to 10 years. Later missed payments will stay on your credit report for 7 years. So the older things get on your credit report, the older derogatory items get on your credit report, the less damage they do, but they still do affect your credit for up to 7 years. The collections or charge-offs, again, 7 years from the date of the charge-off. The reason why this one's super important, especially in my world of credit building, is like we talked about, paying off collections, not always the best thing for your credit. For example, let's say you've got a T-Mobile collection that got sold to a third party and is now 6 years old, but it's still on your credit report. And you decide that it's really bugging you. You just want to pay it. It's $400. You think you can settle it for much less, and you just want to get it out of your hair and pay it. Well, knowing the credit, the statute of limitations, 6 years, in a year or less, that is going to fall off your credit report, regardless of it's paid or not. However, if you pay it, what happens is that date of last activity is what they go off of, renews. So instead of being a unpaid collection 6 years old, it goes to a paid collection that is brand new and can now stay on your credit report for potentially another 7 years. So again, it's important to know these things, or it's important to have a credit counselor. Hi again, my name's Bruce, and if I haven't introduced you, Pat's here. But it's important to know these things because you don't want to pay an old collection thinking that it's going to help your credit when it can do the exact opposite. Bankruptcies can be on your credit report. Chapter 7s can be on there for up to 10 years. A Chapter 13 can be on there for up to 7 years. Civil judgments depends on state statute, but in general, those are no longer allowed to be on credit reports. So we don't see judgments any longer on credit, nor do we see tax liens. They used to be on there for 7 years, but again, I believe it was about 5 or 6 years ago, about 5 years ago, a law passed that they no longer allow judgments and tax liens to be reported on the credit. A foreclosure will be on the credit for up to 7 years from date of foreclosure. And then your inquiries, they stay on your credit for up to 2 years, but they technically only do damage for the first 12 months, and they decrease over time. Excuse me. So the different types of trade lines. So again, going back to that mix of credit that we talked about, you've got your installment, and then you've got your revolving, and then you've got inactive and active. So inactive installment, a loan that was paid off. It's been paid, it's closed. It was an installment that was active, but now it's been paid, closed, it's now inactive. But again, it can stay on there for potentially up to 10 years. And that's okay. If it was all paid on time, ain't nothing wrong with that. Shows good history in the background. A student loan that is in deferment or forbearance. So if your student loans are in a deferment or a forbearance status, they are not being fully factored in to the credit scoring algorithm as an active account. Now, once you go into a repayment plan, they turn into an active installment and can actually benefit your score doing that. But I don't want to get too deep into that. But as far as inactive, active, when they're in forbearance, deferment, they're inactive. And then a collection or charge off, even if monthly payments are being made, it is still technically considered an inactive account. But again, like we talked about, like setting up a payment plan with a collection, even though it's inactive, it still renews it every month and still shows it like it's happening every month, brand new. So it's not always a good thing. In fact, it's like never a good thing. And then you've got revolving credit. Oh, I'm sorry. I probably should go left or right. Yeah, that makes more sense. Staying with installments. So, and then you've got your active installments, something that's still being paid. Your auto loan that's still being paid and will be paid for the next 5 years, Lord willing. Something, a mortgage, personal loan, again, open active account that you're actively paying, active installment. So, and again, installment accounts, you've got your auto loans, your student loans, your business loans, your mortgage loans, etc. And then we go into the revolving. Did not mean to do that. Inactive revolving, so revolving credit cards, store charge accounts, home equity lines of credit. But this is credit cards, and secured credit cards are still considered a revolving account. But credit cards are the main form of revolving credit. If it's closed with no balance, it goes inactive if you close it. And a credit card that has been verified by the credit that has not been verified by the credit bureaus in 6 to 12 months. So that's where keeping the card active, meaning that you use it. I put again, I use mine once a month just with my Hulu account. Um, I have my credit card set up to where it gets, charged once a month through Hulu. And then I have it paid off on auto pay through my checking account. So it keeps it active once a month, but it keeps the balance low. But if you don't use a card, specifically, especially credit cards, your general generic credit card, a Capital One, a Discover card, something like that. If you don't use it after about 3 to 6 months, it'll start to go inactive. And then eventually it will be reported that way. And that's how the credit bureaus will see it. So it can actually hurt your credit to not use your credit cards. Be careful, Mr. Landa. I don't want you going out and spending buying a bunch of shoes now. That's not what I'm saying here. Okay. But using it for minimum, payments or something, a small purchase, once a month, every other month, just to keep them active. Very important. Does need to have an active revolving, does need to have a balance, and being paid. Payment has to be made again in the last 6 months, so you want to use them periodically, and verified by the creditor every month. This is nothing you can do. This is what the creditor does. But so those are your different types of trade lines. Again, having a good mix of those, one or two credit cards, maybe a small personal loan, auto loan, you're set. You don't need 30 credit cards. You don't need 10. I personally try not to recommend any more than two or three. But the more credit cards you get, the more you dilute the pond, if you will. So trying to, again, keep two, three credit cards at most, keep them as long as you can, keep them as open and active for as long as you possibly can. The longer they stay open, the better it is for your credit as well. So just to kind of break down and do a quick little synopsis, if you will, the best things that you can do for your credit: pay on time. I cannot stress this enough. I tell all of my clients this. It is the most important. If I can only leave you with one thing in regards to credit building, make your payments on time. It is better to make a minimum payment on time than it is to make an extra large payment late. You can't really do much about the late payment once it happens. You can dispute it, but good luck, to be honest. But you can always work on your balance. Balance went high. I don't have the money right now. Okay, I can make the minimum payment. I can make it on time. So at least I have that going for me, and I'll work and I'll chip away at that credit card balance. Life happens. Sometimes it just has to be that way. But don't let your credit plummet just because you think that you need to pay it off, or you can pay it off more if you just wait an extra week. Pay it on time. Have 2 to 3 diversified active lines. And again, a revolving, one or two revolving accounts, some type of installment account. If you don't have an installment account and you'd like one, hi, my name is Bruce. We do small consumer loans here. We can hook you up. And then keep credit card balances low. Under 30% is the rule of thumb. The absolute ideal place for your credit card balance is actually somewhere between 1 and 10%. So, yes, it is better to have a small balance reported than zero. But if it's between having a $0 payment and then getting charged a bunch of interest, I'd rather you just pay it off. Better in the long run. But yes, there is a benefit to having a very small balance being reported. Keeping it under 10% is the best place, but under 30% is rule of thumb. So if you got a $500 credit card limit, keeping it under $150 is your best way to consistently build and keep your credit score as high as possible. That's credit in a nutshell. Obviously, it can get into a lot more depth, And I hope that that's what we're about to do here with like some Q&A, a little bit of chatter. But again, those, if you can keep those three things in your mind, making payments on time, couple of diversified accounts, and keeping those credit card balances low. If three's too much, if you can keep one thing in mind, keep payments on time. Again, that's the most important. But then getting those credit card balances down. So that's again, that's kind of what we've got for the presentation. I'd love to open it up to some questions.
So Bruce, I would rather they put the questions in the chat. This way, if we don't get to all of them, we can actually email them their answer today as well, or we can email them their answer. So there's a question that says, Bruce, can you talk about engaging a credit repair company for $700 a month? Is this a good worth spending money on?
God, no, please don't do that. Please don't do that. If you're credit repair companies, what they do is they send disputes out for you. 9 times out of 10, this is all that they do. The dispute process can be done by yourself. If you're not familiar with it, or if you'd like to do disputes that are a little bit more in depth than just clicking a couple buttons on Credit Karma, hi, I'm Bruce. I got Pat with me too. Please hit us up. But no, that's $700 a month is first off, that's extremely excessive. Um, and secondly, you can do these things on your own.
Oh, I have a great question. How much do you charge to be a credit counselor?
$1 million, no, it's absolutely free, 100% free. We do this at no charge. We are here to help the community, give back to the people. And the fact is that credit is the foundation to start everything. I don't care if you're just trying to get your life together and not pay so much on an auto loan, or if you're trying to start a business, or if you want to be a millionaire and own a Fortune 500 company. Credit is where you start. If you don't have a good credit foundation and credit basis, then everything else can topple at any point in time, or you're just going to get absolutely raked over the coals with every loan that you go and make.
What do you need for a small consumer loan?
To set up a meeting with Pat or myself. We'll talk about next steps and figure out if you're not approvable, which we don't just look at credit score. We're not your traditional bank where if you have a quote unquote poor or low credit score that we just automatically deny you. That's not the case. We will work with you. You may not get it approved right away, but we're going to give you a game plan to get you to where you need to be to come back to us and get that loan that you want.
What can I do about co-signing for someone and they didn't pay?
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, and I hate to say this, you're kind of SOL. You either have to make those payments for them or they have to refinance it out of your name. That's the only way to get it out of your name is for them to refinance it and get you off of it. Unfortunately, it's something that we run into. I've run into it a lot throughout my career. Obviously, there's nothing you can do about it now, but yeah, you have to try and either set up a payment plan that they can afford, you can afford, somebody can afford, or make them give the car back and do a voluntary repossession. Yes, it's going to hit your credit. It's not something that you want to happen, but it's the only way to really, quote unquote, absolve yourself of the debt because you are on the line or on the hook for it.
And I would say most importantly, learn from it. I think that a lot of people will co-sign for a friend or family member thinking, hey, I'm doing a good thing here. be selfish with your credit. Know that that's something that it's on you. And if you co-sign for somebody else, then you're kind of at their mercy of hoping and praying that they're making payments on time. And life
Yes,
happens to everybody. So if something comes up in their life and they're unable to make the payments, you shouldn't get your credit trashed because of that.
absolutely. Great point. Yeah.
So
Be selfish
learn
with your
from it.
credit.
Don't do it again.
Yeah. I like that. Be selfish with your credit.
Yeah.
100%.
I'd like to close out a credit card recently opened less than 3 months. Credit limit is only 500. Will my credit score take a hit?
Uh, if you don't have any other credit cards, yes, absolutely, because you're closing the only revolving account that you have. If you've got other revolving credit, excuse me, you won't take a large hit. You may see a small ding for a few months, but your credit will come back fairly quickly.
Great. Um, I
Great,
have a
great question.
I have a friend who is filing a Chapter 13 for taxes due, consumer debt, and student loan. Could credit counseling help him better?
Could you read that one more time? Chapter 13. He's
Yes,
going through a chapter 13.
I'll read it again. I have a friend who's filing a Chapter 13 for taxes due, consumer debt, and student loans. Could credit counseling help him?
Absolutely. 100%. Without a doubt, my man, credit counseling can help everybody. I don't care who you are. But at the end of the day, he's going to have to reestablish his credit. If he's going through the bankruptcy, it doesn't mean the end of the world for his credit, but he should start sooner rather than later of reestablishing and getting himself back on the right track. Because as we talked about, bankruptcies will be on your credit report. If it's a chapter 13, it'll be on there for up to 7 years. And there will be ramifications to that, but the sooner and quicker he can start rebuilding and reestablishing positive credit, the better off he's going to be.
Next question is, how do I get help with reestablishing my it's my cleaning company and the funding, I guess, with reestablishing their credit for their cleaning company?
So we do business loans here at Justine Peterson. So I believe that's a great place for you to start. But again, credit counseling, I can't recommend it enough. Knowing just a pathway to doing what you do, what you need to do. It could take literally 15, 30 minutes to go over your credit report, give you a game plan. We can check in. I like to check in with my clients usually every, 2, 3 months. But at the end of the day, we're going to set you up with a game plan for success. You're going to know what you're going to have to do or need to do to get your credit right.
I have another question. So I should make some type of payment on a loan on the due date instead of waiting to have all of the payment money.
If it's an open and active loan, no, you want to pay that thing on time, monthly, on the due date. If it's open and active, then you want to make sure that you're making whatever the minimum payment is. If you got more, absolutely throw more towards the principal. Never a bad thing, but you never want to miss a payment or pay less than the minimum payment by the due date. Now, if it's closed, if it's an old loan that has been charged off and it was charged off recently, and again, you're compelled to settle it because your soul just needs you to get this debt off your conscience, then heck yeah, save up until you've got a decent amount and then go at them with the settlement agreement. And whenever I coach settling, personally, I recommend starting off somewhere between 23 and 25% of the amount. Be specific with it. If they're asking for $1,000, Hey, I got $222.18 in my checking account right now. I can give that to you. We call it a day. Look, I'm willing to give you the last 18 cents in my checking account, my friend. Work with me here. And now you've set up a foundation. Go at them. They're going to come back. Probably they're not going to take that low of an amount. If they do, hell yeah, great. But you're going to go back and forth. You're going to come to some kind of agreement. Once you come to that agreement, again, you should have the money ready. And that's when you come and say, okay, great. I can get you that money. However, I need you on this recorded line that we're speaking on to state that you're going to send me a letter of intent to remove, stating that this account is going to be removed from my credit report upon the settlement or satisfaction. If you,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, really try and push for that, but not all companies will do it. In fact, most won't. So if you can't get that, make sure that you get them to agree to a letter of settlement or letter of satisfaction stating that you're paying X amount of dollars and the account is going to be zeroed out. You owe them no more money. Go ahead,
And
PB.
to expand on the answer, the question just a bit also, if you're asking like if you don't have the full payment to make, is it better to pay some of it as opposed to the full thing? Essentially, you want like if you have an auto loan payment that's I don't know $400 a month, right? And you have 200, but you're gonna have the other 200 in the next week. Typically, you're not gonna get reported late for the most part if you make that payment within a grace period. So like
7 to 10
usually
days.
under 30 days, right? They're not going to a lot of times report it onto the credit report. But what I recommend doing is if you're not going to have the full payment by the payment due date is usually just communicate with the creditor. If you run into the thing where it's like, hey, my payment date is set for the 10th each month, but I get paid on the 15th. Can we change my payment date? Sometimes it's going to be a yes, sometimes it's going to be a no, but if you know you're not going to have the full payment to make at the time it's due, I always say try to communicate with the creditors. And again, some are going to be better than others about it, but usually there is that grace period within a couple of weeks where if you make the payment, so I would say again going off Bruce's point, the minimum payment on an auto loan it's always going to be the same. On a credit card, it can change month to month, but you want to make at least the minimum payment on time each month. And if you're unable to do that, try to communicate with the creditors to see what you can do to avoid them reporting a late payment. Now, also know sometimes, especially with auto loan companies, there will be late fees assessed. So if you're ever paying a couple weeks late, they might not report that as a late payment, but there might be this late fee tacked on to your next payment or that's owed to get it caught up and not have a past due lingering there. So again, just communicating if you know you're going to be short.
Absolutely. Yeah. Communication is key. 100%. Great point.
I have would it be smart to get a small consumer loan for total credit card amount, then pay the loan?
I don't know. You're going to go out and max out the card though. You got to be careful with what you're doing. But yeah, like if you're loan consolidation or debt consolidation, I'm sorry, is absolutely a thing. And that's something that we will encourage and can help facilitate as well with a lot of our clients. Now, if you've got one card it's a $500 credit limit and it's at $300 and you're like, should I get a small dollar loan just to pay that off? No, not really. That's not necessary, I should say. But if you've got, 4 credit cards, they're all maxed out at $500 and you're getting hit with these crazy interest rates and all you're able to do is make a minimum payment. Hey, we can look at getting you, $2,200 loan, pay off the majority of that debt. And now you've got one small monthly payment with us. And then, again, just like with the co-signing, you learn from what you did wrong, and you manage the credit cards better. And now you keep a lower monthly payment. You're not getting hit with as much interest. So yeah, it can definitely be beneficial. Just depends on the situation.
I have a 708 FICO score. I want an 800. I have lots of credit cards. I own very little on. I owe very little on, but no loans except student loans that I'm not paying on at this time. Is it realistic to seek an 800 credit score? If not, do I need to take out a loan to help me reach my credit score goal?
Realistic, sure. Necessary, no. I'll tell you that 800 credit score is just window dressing, in my opinion. Um, if you're above a 680, you're in good shape just to begin with. If you're in the 700s, period, you're above the majority of Americans already. And honestly, the difference between a 740 and an 800 credit score, maybe a half a percentage point on a mortgage loan or something like that. So it's not this huge deal just to have an 800 credit score. Now, with that being said, the way that you reach the 800 truly is maximizing the length of your history, because that's that that 15% that a lot of people just don't fill up, because you're opening a new account. You have a credit card, but then you open a new credit card every year because Kohl's has a sale, and then Target has a sale, and then Sears has a sale. And every time they get you with that, hey, save 30% by opening this credit card. And every time you do that, you are decreasing that length of history. So if you're in the 700s, your credit scores or your credit balances are low, with the student loans, because they aren't being paid, they're in deferment, they are inactive. So there is a piece that's not being accounted for. So getting them active can help you increase that score a bit, increase that length of history. But honestly, it's really just a matter of time, allowing things to get older and mature, and you'll just see your credit score eventually rise, more and more steadily as they get older, as you don't open up new items and you again make payments on time, things of that nature. um, One thing I will also, just kind of a little caveat, just to really drive home the fact that making payments on time is super important. A person like yourself in the 700s, I've had many, many, many clients in the 700s. A late payment, a single late payment, has dropped my client from a 702 to a 609, almost a full
Hi,
100
this is
points.
Jonathan Buchanan, calling in reference
So
to my
be
email.
very, very wary of your payments. Be very conscious, because again, a late payment is devastating to your credit. So that's just a little caveat, not to scare you, but also be scared. Make payments on time.
And to the point of getting that score up, I mean, like Bruce said, there's not a lot of difference in terms of finances that it's going to make between, mid 700 to 800. But if we wanted to take a quick look at a credit report again, like credit counseling isn't just for people that have low credit scores. It's, hey, what strategy can I put into place to continue long term to get my score up? So for example, if you have a brand new credit card that you just opened that you don't really need, and you have other credit cards that are 5, 10 years old, there are certain cases where we might say, well, let's close that new account out because it's impacting your length of credit history. So we can get really into the weeds with it. But again, don't think that, hey, I've got a good credit score. I want it to get higher, but there's not a real, no point for credit counseling. We can definitely still come up with a strategy on, hey, what can you do to continue seeing the score move in the right direction long term? But to Bruce's point, most of the time in those cases, it's really just time, continuing to keep low balances on those cards and make on time payments.
Absolutely.
You just answered that question. If you have limited income to pay off debt, how can you get your credit back on track?
If you have limited income to get back on debt, how can you get your credit back on track?
Pay down
Uh,
debt. Yeah.
yeah. Hi, my name's Bruce. I'm a credit counselor. This is Pat. He's a credit counselor. We do small dollar consumer loans. Honestly, that might be the route that you want to go down. You know, um, not that I'm pushing our loans, push, but it is it if it can help you, we will do it. If it's not going to benefit you, we won't. Straight up, we're not going to do something that's not going to help you. But in that same vein, if we take a look at your credit again, you've got all this debt and you're just drowning in it, and mainly because of interest rates. That's usually what's getting people. It's hard to get. You max out a $2,000 credit card. Your minimum monthly payment's $200, but then you're getting hit with $150 in interest every month. So only $50 is getting paid off. And then you have to use the card again after you get $500 paid off because life happens and you got to pay $200 on this card. And so if that's the case, well, maybe we can help you with that. If we can pay that off for you with a small dollar loan, and now you're only paying us $70 a month to pay it off. You're not only building your credit that way, you're not only seeing an increase in your score because that balance is getting low, but now you can breathe a little bit. So again, it's strategy, trying to figure out where to go and what to do, and how we can manage, the funds that we got.
So we are at 12:53. If someone was interested in setting up an appointment with you, what do they need to do, Bruce and Pat?
Go to the website, go to justinepeterson.com and go to .org. Oh my gosh. Rob's not on here, is he?
I just put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So go on there, go to service request. Is it apply for loan?
Yep. And then credit building is in there. Yeah. You'll just select primary purpose. I can share my screen real quick if we want to.
Yeah.
I was trying to do that, but I was
got
having
you. Yeah.
trouble. Thank
I
you,
got it up
PB.
here. So if we go to, we'll just say, start from here. We'll go to Justine Peterson in the Google home. And then you got just in the upper right, apply for a loan. Now, again, don't be scared. You don't have to apply for a loan through here. This is just how you get it. It has descriptions of each of these things, but credit building counseling is what you want to select right here, credit building. And then you fill out your basic intake info. And then within the week or so, I'd like to say within the week, you'll get a call from Bruce, myself, or whoever's available for credit counseling. But I'd say,
and you can put Pat and or Bruce where that JP preferred counselor is as well, just to make sure that it gets to our pipeline. We're always happy to do that.
Yep. And then
also you could just copy the link at the top and then just post it in the chat as well. Right there. Yep.
Yep.
Nice.
Good. Simple enough.
Well, we have time for maybe one or two more questions. Let's see what's on there. Okay, here we go. Thank you, Pat. I'd like to get, so Lisa is saying she'd like to set something up for her entire staff. Lisa, Bruce or Pat will get back with you about that. And yes, definitely we can accommodate that.
Yeah, we'd love to do a presentation for you and your staff.
Yes. Awesome, LaRonda. We're looking forward to you going to the website and making an appointment. So do you have any last words, Bruce or Pat, before we end? Any takeaways?
Make payments on time. Get a credit counselor. Hi, my name's Bruce. That's Pat. Hit us up. And with credit cards, my little cheat code, just real quick. I like to, again, I keep my card active. I put it on Hulu. It's like $20 a month. That's all I use it for. And then I have it on auto pay set up with my checking account to have it paid off in full on the due date. I don't get charged interest that way because all credit card interest is ridiculously high. But it keeps my card active, keeps my credit score growing, and keeps the balance low. So last little cheat code for you guys. But I look forward to meeting everybody who signs up. What do we got? Like 50 people here. So we'll have
Yeah,
50
we're
meetings here
over
coming up.
50.
Let's
That'd be great.
go. Let's
Yeah,
go.
and my last words, I mean, like if you're thinking like even after this meeting, like I still don't know what the hell I'm doing with my credit. Like you're not alone with that. Like I tell people all the time, we didn't miss the class on this stuff. It's just not taught to us. So
Yes.
setting up a meeting to go really in depth on your personal credit report and set up an individualized game plan, like we can talk about the basics of credit, but when it comes down to it, there's not a one size fits all game plan. And it kind of, I mean, credit's basically a game, and knowing the rules of it and how to beat the game is a big part. I think there's a lot of people that have this idea of credit that like, creating credit's going to create amount of debt that you can't get past, or well, I'm just going to use cash for everything because that's the best way to avoid interest rates. Like there's some truth to that, but there's not anybody can start credit and anybody can start building credit and you can do it for basically nothing out of pocket. Again, with like Bruce's cheat code for credit cards, he's paying a Netflix account or whatever that he's going to pay out of his checking account, but he's just using a credit card, and that's building positive credit history. So it's not really actually creating any of this debt. So just don't be scared or unsure about like, hey, I don't know if this is for me. If you walk away from here not really still grasping all this, just understand that everybody we meet with, we're going to come up with an individualized credit action plan for you and make it really simplified so that we're giving you steps to take a couple months at a time. And I like to take baby steps with credit. So hey, if you wherever you're starting, whether it's a no score, you never had credit before, low score, you've screwed it up before, high score, and you want to know how to get that extended, there's a game plan for you. So just know that.
Great point.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Bruce. This has been such good information, great information. If you guys have signed the attendance sheet that was sent to you by email, we'll probably send it out one more time so you can make sure you signed in. If you have any questions, you can we'll have your information to send you more information, your email addresses and things. Let's see. Oh, you did not sign. Andrew, is it a way you can attach the sign-in sheet? We'll send a survey afterwards, and you can update your information there. Please fill out the survey. Not only will it help us to get your information so we can get more information to you, we'll be able to let you know for upcoming lunch and learns. This information was very, 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 very good. So we have more lunch and learns coming up. So make sure that you fill out the survey when it's over. And I just want to thank you from everyone at Justine Peterson for joining us here. And thank you again, Bruce and Pat. You guys have an awesome, amazing day. Okay.
Thank you all so much.
All right.
Appreciate it. Have a
Bye-bye.
good one.
Take care.
Bye-bye.